All right. So today we have Fitz Koehler. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right. In studio over Zoom, as we are accustomed to these days. So thank you very much for joining us.
I'm
Fitz.
super excited to be here with you.
Yeah. Me too. I have to calm myself down a little bit. I have an attractive woman on the other side of the line. You know, it's you have to kind of keep it down a little bit, calm myself. The hair is growing back quite fast.
It's fast to you, very, very slow to me, but I'm a grateful person. So I just am grateful to have some hair. Some hair is better than no hair. So the speed will be what it will be. And I'll be grateful for every millimeter of growth I get.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed about you. You seem to really be grateful in general. And I think you were that type of person before, right? Obviously. So, I mean, before, I'm saying that like everyone knows what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I've spent my whole life very grateful. I'm a joy addict, number one. So I will find the rainbow in any crisis. I just prefer to smile. I can't understand people who enjoy chaos or stress, or some people really focus on sadness and difficulties. And I try to, no matter what the difficulties, I try to focus on the joy. It's a gift. I think it's definitely a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I get that thing too. I'm that type of person too. I'm a very positive person. But I get that feeling from other people sometimes, like, man, just be in a bad mood, they shame me. They positive shame me.
Hey, on occasion I tend to go into my own little space because I don't like to put that on other people. It bothers me to be a downer. I never want to be a Debbie Downer. So if I'm having a hard day or just built up stress, I go and exercise. I get out in the woods where I can't bother anybody else because I would not want to bring somebody else's day down.
Yeah. So, and this is something that I've never really thought about this as a profession, but so your profession is you're a professional, you speak at these big rallies and runs, like at marathons, right?
Yeah. So I'm two things. So I'm a fitness expert first and foremost. I've been teaching fitness for decades. I have a master's degree in exercise sports sciences, and I'm, make a living out of helping people live better and longer. And I do it by making fitness understandable, attainable, and fun. And I love doing that. It fuels me. But the thing I do that's kind of pretty interesting, I say kind of pretty interesting, it's pretty interesting, is I'm a professional race announcer and event host. So I man the start and finish lines of some of the largest, most prestigious running events in the United States. So the Los Angeles Marathon, Philadelphia Marathon, Buffalo Marathon, cities most people around the world have heard. I am there on a start line and a finish line. And as the 30,000 people arrive at the venue, I'm there to greet them. I'm playing fun music. I get them engaged, informed, entertained. I whip them into a frenzy. I yell, go. And then they go. And I'm sad because they've all left me and we've been having such a fun time at the start. And then when they finish their race, no matter what distance it is, I'm back at the finish line, welcoming them each with great fanfare, hopefully making every person from the first to the last feel like they won the race.
So you're talking to 30,000 people at the beginning. There's this whole process before they get ready for the run, right?
It's my favorite part. Yeah. I mean, the finish line is a great place of triumph, and people's lives are changed at the finish line, but the start line is the only time that we are all actually together in one space. And the energy is combustible. It's just such a gift to be the ringleader of that type of sports. And, and we all love soccer, right? Whether it's American soccer or European soccer, whatever. But usually there's 22 people on the field and the rest are fans. And in my sport, running, I should say, or endurance racing, I often have 35,000 participating athletes. Yeah. And that's just, it can't be beat. It's extraordinary.
How did you get into that? Just as a side note.
So I am a speaker, and I speak on fitness and healthy living and so forth. I'm also a sport performance expert. So I help athletes prepare their body to perform better in their sport. And I do this for all sorts of athletes, from fighters to soccer players, football players, tennis, you name it, and runners. And so I was at Walt Disney World. They have an endurance series called Run Disney, and I was there at most of their events teaching my clinics strength training for runners and pain prevention or weight management for runners. And it was their race announcer, Rudy Novotny, who's extraordinary. He was the kind of the MC of the expo where I was speaking. And when I was done, he kept saying, gosh, you're such a great speaker. Oh my gosh, you're so fun. You're so engaging. People love learning. They're all nodding their heads. And every time I presented, he always gushed. And finally he said, you know what? I need a co-host for a big marathon weekend in California in a few months. Are you interested? And I said, well, I've never done that before, but I'd love to give it a shot. And so he put me in touch with the race director who checked out my TV highlight reel and, delved into my resume. And then we had a short conversation and he said, hey, I would love for you to come co-announce the OC Marathon. So, come give it a shot. And I did. And so I hosted the kids events on Saturday, and I connect really well with kids. I'm a heck of a lot of fun. And then on Sunday morning for the marathon and half, it was about an hour after yelling go for the very first time that the race director came over and he said, Fitz, can you come back next year? And that was the greatest compliment I could have had, is the fact that he wanted me to do this again. And within a few months, I had a handful of events booked in other locations, and it's just kind of spiraled out of control in a really good way. And on a real year, a non-COVID year, I'm gone 40 weekends of the year hosting all sorts of events. And as we were touching before we went live, is that I very much would love to get back to Europe for some running events. You guys put on some doozies, and I'd love to be there for them.
That's interesting. So have you been out to Europe before?
I have. I've been to every country in Scandinavia, Russia, England, France, Germany, Switzerland. So I've done some quality travel, and I love it over there. I love being an American. I love my country. I love my state. I'm a Floridian, but Germany, nobody told us about the charm of the little cottages and the cobblestone streets, and the Black Forest was just so rich and mesmerizing. So you definitely have some things we don't have. You have some structures that are far older than our country, and I'd love to get back, and I love the people. Yeah,
that was something that when I first got here that I was like, and my father-in-law kind of knew. He's like, okay, he's gonna just impress me with stuff like that, and we drive around somewhere and he's like, Remington, that building's so in 1100 it was built. I'm like, what, 1100? What? Just kind of bragging on all how they outdate everything that we do in the States, but there's
a lot to brag about.
Yeah, the culture. I'm actually not such a history buff. I think a history buff can probably just come out and just ooze in Europe, right? And just run around. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I noticed when I talk to people that have traveled and been around is that they just tend to have a more open perspective. It's automatic, right? You see things kind of just differently when you get out of your home country or home state, even.
Yeah, I think one of the things that made me a better person, both personally and then professionally, was when I was 19, I think, or 20. I was hired as a fitness director aboard a cruise ship. Oh. And I had to get my passport within a few days, which was very exciting. I had never left the States other than to go to the Caribbean for the Bahamas or the cruises, which is not a bad place either. But I got my passport, and I headed over to a ship, and I was a fitness director aboard a cruise ship that sailed through Europe. And, there's something special about leaving home, leaving your country, and being responsible for yourself and navigating new places, new languages. Every time that ship pulled into port, I prioritized learning how to say, hello, how are you? Excuse me, where's the bathroom? How much? Please, thank you. I just wanted to be courteous to the natives and show respect for that particular country. So I was constantly learning, and Norway took my breath away. I mean, all of these countries had something spectacular I'd not seen before. And then you see all the commonalities. There's not really so much difference between me and the girl in the Netherlands, or me and the guy in Russia. It was wonderful. So I'm looking forward to coming back soon.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody. I think everybody's like, just let us travel again, right? But
That's right.
gotta do what you gotta do. And one thing that that there's two things now, because you said something about the traveling on these ships, and I've been on one cruise, and what did you, as a fitness director, did you basically run all of the activities, because there's so many things happening on these ships, right?
Right. Yeah, I was only responsible for the actual fitness center.
Okay, cool.
And I taught classes.
See,
so it was really fun.
So, but I got somebody now. I can finally test. I can ask you this question, because that's what I thought when I was on that thing. I was like, all right, so wait a minute. You guys are in fantastic shape, right? Because you're doing this. You're doing like let's say, what kind of class were you teaching?
It was a long time ago. So aerobics, like dance classes, step classes,
cool.
Strength training, ab classes. And we had sit to be fit. We had chair classes because our ship was very expensive and we had a very old clientele. And so they would come and sit in their chairs and we would
do like that.
We would exercise. It was so fun.
Yeah, that I just know that my wife booked a spinning course or something like that, she came back though. She's like, she kicked like the woman is doing this. She's doing this spinning course probably twice a day, 4 days a week. Right. So she's just peak fitness, and everyone there hasn't been on a bike in the last, 6 months. Right. they're all excited to have all these endorphins because they're on vacation and they think they can enjoy this time, and they come back and they've just got these terrible muscles afterwards,
Well, here's the deal. So 2 things. When I was teaching fitness, I haven't taught in a group setting in like 20 something years. I don't teach exercise classes anymore. But when I did, it was just a great way to obligate yourself to being fit. I was teaching 2-3 classes a day. And as I was leading those workouts, I was also doing those workouts. But what I love about your wife, and you got to go home and give her a high five for me, is that while so many people come on a ship and they're like, I'm going to eat all of my money's worth. I spent $3,000. I'm going to get all my money's worth.
Right. All you can
everything.
Eat,
and then they go home 10 pounds heavier, which makes no sense. Yeah. So what your wife did is she said, you know what? I'm kind of right now. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to get off this ship as hot as I was when I got on it. So kudos to her.
Yeah, that's definitely, you see that on those ships. One of the worst things. You're just like, come on, people. You don't need to eat that much. I mean, it's there. I get it. It's sitting in this huge buffet. Right. But it doesn't have to be eaten. I mean, it's not like you're helping anybody by.
No, you go on vacation, you're supposed to make memories, and the reality is you're never going to look back 20 years from now and be like, remember that bowl of rice on that cruise ship? It was such special rice. So go dance, play the games, do the limbo contest, get in the pool, go out and take the tours. A cruise can be a wonderful thing, but don't eat your weight. No, don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing about the cruise, I mean, you were young too. I'm sure you saw it though. I just remember watching like these pallets of food come in and then go out, and and it never stops. That thing is just going, baby. Just pumping this oil the whole time. I felt kind of dirty afterwards. I was like, honey, I don't think we can do that again, And then COVID hit. We had one planned before COVID. We were going to do one more, and it's a great vacation style for couples and stuff. We had our kids with us in the first time, and we felt like we were just kind of just herding cats the whole time. But everyone has their own experience,
They can be a wonderful vacation. They're not for everybody, but you certainly can have fun. And for me, as a what was I, 19 or 20?
Yeah, what a great opportunity, right?
It was a great opportunity, a great way to see the world, and I got paid for seeing the world, and that exposure certainly changed me and benefited me long term.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. So that, as you were talking though about being at the start line of these huge races, did you ever have like a connection with people when you got to the other end, and did they ever give you that feedback to you, like, gosh, you got me going, I wasn't really feeling it, and I had this. I mean, you probably don't get to talk to 30,000 people afterwards, obviously, but.
Well, there are 2 things. I wish I did. I mean, I truly fall in love with all of these people, all of them. It's interesting. There's people at the start line and you look at them and you think, how on God's earth did you get here? People expect certain things out of runners. And the reality is the running community is not exclusively made of runners. We have tons of people who run and walk throughout the race. And then we have exclusive walkers, people who never bend their knee and propel off the ground. So all of those people are welcome. All of those people are wanted. There is no like running police that's going to be like, no, you have to run or get off the course. And then most of our participants do not actually look the part of runners. They're not in the little shorty shorts and the singlets and super thin. Our athletes look like everybody. They have all body types, and they're all different colors and religions and so forth. It's humanity. And I feel like I make a personal connection with most of them at the start, and I laser focus in as they're running. I yell go, and so it's chaos, right? We actually have this extraordinary happy chaos. It's not like the Olympics. This is fun stuff. And people come running by my tower. I'm usually on a tall tower stage, and they're waving at me and pumping their fist, and they wear fun things. Sometimes they're in glittery running skirts or big weird costumes. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And then, when I catch them on the way in, so technology allows me to find out what their name is when they're about 10 to 20 feet before the finish line. They're wearing a race bib. It's got a little chip in it. It triggers when they cross a particular mat, comes to my laptop, and I can say, here comes Remington's Foot Saucers.
That's a good name for you.
Right. So I see a lot of names like that break my mouth, but I do my best. Yeah. And then so many of them look up and go, oh, she knows my name, But because of social media, or because I'm very interactive, I do get to meet a lot of these people. And of course, so many of them reach out and say, thank you so much. I felt like I won gold medal in the Olympics today. Your shout out, your praise really meant a lot, or your encouragement at the start line got me really excited and I ran faster than I thought I ever could. Or I was really nervous when I arrived, and your conversation with us really calmed me down and made me feel at home and like I belonged here. And so, I have a variety of hats I wear, and getting people pumped up to do their best is one of them. Getting people who are terrified to calm down is another. Plugging the sponsors that have spent a lot of money to invest in the race is another. I got to make sure that whoever has invested money in these races gets recognized, and they feel so rewarded that they want to come back and bring the race organization more money the next year. So, it's a busy, fabulous level of work. I hate to even call it work because it's so much fun. It is work though. I get paid, and I make so many friends. I just love the running community, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of it. It's
also like, I've never run a marathon. I think I did like a mini little triathlon.
That counts.
Yeah, but I just know what that must. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, and to get out there, and get the mindset to I'm going to do the Boston Marathon, and to get into it's some, like, you have to apply, right? You can't.
You have to qualify for that one. That requires speed. But here's the thing: not every race is a marathon. There is a marathon that's 26.2 specific miles, but then there's half marathon, which is 13.1. Yeah. And then there's a 10K, which is 6.2 miles. And then there's a 5K, which is really common. Probably the most popular distance in the world right now is a 5K, so 3.1 miles. And what I tell people is, if you have the ability to walk around the mall or a festival for 1 hour, you can do a 5K. And they're like, and to add a little element of, you can do it, to that, my longest distance, which is usually a full marathon, is one of the longest distance I particularly host. I have 400-pound people doing full marathons. I have 90-something-year-old World War II veterans doing full marathons. I have people with zero legs doing full marathons in prosthetics. So if those people can do full marathons, whoever you are, can probably get out there and do a 5K or a 1 mile, whatever. Just join us.
Yeah, there's a popular, or I don't know how to would say it, more of like a common theme in your thought process, in your positivity, and I guess I almost don't even want to like make you rehash your whole story, It's just like, gosh, you told it before. I should just tell them, go to this other YouTube channel where you already interviewed, and it was, but you're good to go. You wrote a book about it. So you were diagnosed with cancer. You found a lump right after having what do you call it? I'm sorry, it was a mammogram. Thank you. Yeah, and please, if you would be so kind to share with us your story there. The video on your website was just I don't know how you mustered the courage to share it so openly. Right. It was pretty fresh too. Like, gosh.
It was. So as he speaks about, the book is called My Noisy Cancer Comeback.
That's a cool title.
But yeah, in December of 2018, I had a clean mammogram, and then less than 7 weeks later at a hotel bathroom at a race weekend, I did this maneuver. I rubbed my underboob after getting out of the shower, and I went, uh-oh, I have a lump. I have breast cancer. And so this was an important thing I did where not everybody does. Some people ignore it, think maybe it'll go away. Yeah. I did not call my mom and cry or run to my girlfriends. I did not Google it. I just instantly, after finding the lump, picked up the phone, called my doctor. Thank goodness I did, because within that 7 weeks between the mammogram and finding my lump, I already had a sizey tumor with at least 3 infected lymph nodes, which means I had a very aggressive type of breast cancer that was on the go trying to take me out. And so had I not made that phone call so quickly, there's a good chance you might be talking about me instead of to me. Yeah. So it's important for people to listen to their body's red flags, look for those, signs and symptoms, and then go to the doctor to say, hey, something's weird, check me out. So I found the lump very quickly. 3 days later, I was at a doctor. 3 days later, I was having the mammogram ultrasound. Less than 2 weeks after that ultrasound and then punch biopsy, I started chemo. But I had very aggressive type of breast cancer. And my whole treatment plan, I'll just lay out now. I had 15 months of chemo. The first 5 months were brutal, vicious, monster chemo that affected every cell in my body. Yeah. The latter 10 months were really hard, but not the same. Yeah. And I had 33 rounds of radiation. I had surgery, not full mastectomy. I had lumpectomy and several lymph nodes taken out. So that's the gist of my treatment. But I'm a bit of a private person. So I'm very public when it comes to what I do, with sports and fitness. I talk on stages. So I'm public, but when it comes to my personal life, I don't need to share all the inner workings of what it's like to be Fitz Koehler, and really, who cares? So if it were not for the hair loss, I probably would have done breast cancer privately. I probably would have just done it and nobody would have known. But there I was, and my hair, I don't know if you can see it, but it was waist length.
Nice. Yeah.
You saw it. It was very recognizable hair, right?
It's kind of like your image, right? It's your I don't know how you say it. Like it's probably part of your whole. It's your part of your whole look. Obviously, having long blonde hair like that. Yeah.
Very identifiable, and my value was never my hair. It's my intellect and my bossiness and my ability to compel people to do things. But the reality is I was going to go from having this long, fabulous hair to being completely bald, and I thought, oh. I'm going to have to tell people I'm not going to get away with this. And so I did. I had to make a very awkward video. It was right here at this table where I turned the camera on, and, it's called I Have Breast Cancer. And there I was just telling the world that, hey, I am one of the healthiest, fittest girls. I don't do everything right, but I do most things right. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. At that point, I had enough information to be able to tell people that the doctors had promised me a cure. I was just going to have to endure the cure. But I also got a little feisty. And, as I do, I just said, listen, guys, I don't want your pity. I don't want any pity, period, end of story. I don't want anyone walking around feeling bad for me. You can root for me. You can cheer for me. But I'm going to be fine. I am going to show up at my events and perform as expected. I earned my spot on those stages. I am not giving up my career. And I'm also not giving time with my kids, and I'm going to be fine. So thanks and see you soon type thing. And, wonderful chaos broke out, because once I finally published that, the world opened up with love and support. And they were very kind.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it takes just sharing personal stories in general, on this stage, and you already have an audience. So, that, gosh, I mean, it just helps. It helps so many people that are, maybe there's people that are your book too, I'm sure. So the reason for writing your book is also is interesting to me. And I was listening to the way that you explained that. Can you explain that? Because that was something that I really found. Yeah.
Two things is, first of all, I had so many surprises with my treatment. So,
Yeah.
as you know, with chemo, people are likely to be sick, likely to be bald, likely to be tired. And I was all of those things. But then all this weird stuff started happening, these crazy, bizarre Twilight Zone type experiences. And I kept thinking, how come nobody ever talks about this? Nobody warned me of that. I mean, I had the doctor's PA sat me down for an hour and blah, blah, blah about all these things that could happen. She never even touched on some of the things that were likely to happen. My fingernails started getting these ridges. And apparently with each round of chemo came a cycle of nail death, whatever that means. And then they eventually rotted out while on my fingers, which if you can imagine living with rotting fingernails on your hands, I mean, it smelled so bad and there was no resolution for it. At one point, my eyes changed color. So I used to have really pale gray eyes. And then I woke up one morning and they were navy saucers. I just looked like a cartoon character with
Gosh, it almost looks like you have contacts in.
Yeah, I mean they're super blue now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, super blue. Yeah.
Yeah. People used to say, "Oh, your eyes are so cool. They're kind of like silver." Or they're not silver anymore. And it's not that these are bad eyes, but they're not my eyes. Yeah. So I had the rotting fingernails. My eyes changed colors. My vision disappeared at one point. I mean, I didn't go blind, but holy mackerel, I'm a grown up who doesn't wear glasses. I have good vision, and then all of a sudden, poof, I had bad vision, and it was everything. And then I kept getting myself into these crazy situations because I continued to work. So every single weekend, I was getting on a plane from Florida to Atlanta, Georgia, and then I'd head off to California or New York or Pennsylvania or wherever I was going. And I never wore a wig, not once, and I rarely wore a hat, only if I was freezing.
Yeah.
And so there I was, this bald chick roaming through the airports. I also never wore a pink ribbon or like a cancer warrior shirt. I just, I'm not going to be permanently labeled by this disease. It wasn't who I was. I wasn't going to be like, yeah, I got cancer. Hey, I thought, I'm not glamorizing this idiot inside of me. And I just went about my business, but I was violently ill. And I remember one point ending up in one of those airport showers. And I was in there because I had a layover, which flight was delayed. And so I was stuck in an airport for 6-7 hours. And so I thought, I'm going to go take a shower. And then when I was in there, some sort of crisis happened and the alarm went off. And there I am, naked bald chick in the shower trying to figure out what to do. So, yeah, so I just had all these kind of adventures / misadventures during chemo. And I thought, you know what, people should know about this stuff. And then I think they would really get a kick. I think they would laugh. Yeah. And then the other thing that motivated me to write the book, besides just the funny, interesting stories, was that, I've spent my whole life helping people do better and be better. And even though cancer was really, really hard and it made me cry almost every day, I would sit in my room alone or my bathroom alone and cry, or sit in my Jeep alone and cry. But, I always kept perspective that things could always be worse. I was a grown up with breast cancer that was likely curable. Was it hard? Yes. But was I a baby with cancer? No, that would be way worse. It wasn't my kid with cancer. And fortunately for me, it was a curable type of cancer. So yeah. I wasn't going to be, wasn't going to have pity parties. I just chose not to do that. I never had a why me moment. I also pursued my passions, which I think meant all the difference in the world. So if you have someone going through, whether it's illness or injury, try and keep them engaged in the stuff they love, because that's what will fill up their soul and keep them moving forward. For me, it was my career and my kids. For other people, it might be tennis or animals. And even if you can't play tennis, you can watch it on TV, or you can watch funny little animal videos on the internet. There are ways to immerse yourself in your passions. And then last but not least, I chose to be positive. And as you can tell, it's who I am, but it also became one of the most important parts of who I am, because, I learned quickly, you do not score extra points for being the most pathetic person in the room. And if you are the most pathetic, cranky person, no one wants to come and visit you. So if somebody said something funny, even if I had just left the bathroom sick and I was bald and ugly, that I was like, I laughed. If somebody said something funny, I laughed. And it was perspective, passion, positivity. And those are the things that, allowed me to make this very noisy cancer comeback.
Did you make yourself laugh even if you didn't want to?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I'm a good little soldier. I make decisions, and then I do whatever it takes to accomplish those goals. Yeah.
That's what I'm just amazed by. I was listening to. Do you know Tim Ferriss?
Don't.
It's just a podcaster guy. He wrote the 4 Hour Work Week. I think is one of his. He's got like 5 books out. But I found him one like 10 years ago, and I just randomly listened to his podcast the other night, and he had this guy Greg McKeown on his show, also an author, and he was telling a story. And I just wanted to read it to you because he did the same thing. He has, I think, his daughter. They've got 4 kids, and one of his daughters was just the most outgoing daughter and always running around. And they have like a nice picket fence area somewhere in Great Britain. I don't know exactly where, but he's like this ideal thing. And out of all the kids, she was the most outgoing, coming back home with dirty feet and reading books and just full of life, like just undeniable. And at the age of 14, or I think 12 or 14, something happened, and they were at like a normal physical checkup. And the doctor's like, whoa, that's not really good that she failed that test. That you should probably check out like neurologist, like what's this all about? So all of a sudden, like this girl, full of life, they watched it in front of his eyes. He said that she just lost all of these things. She wasn't laughing anymore. She couldn't, it took her 15 seconds to write the first letters of her name and all these neurological things, but no one could figure out what it was. And he had already written a book, so it was just so nice, I thought, to listen to him talk about it, because the way I'm articulating it now is like nothing how he can articulate this situation that he was in, right? And he said that if there's anything that we can be grateful for, then we are going to say it. It's kind of like this rule that they made in their family to deal with this, right? This was before the pandemic. And then he says, like, say it clearly, they say it loud, say it to each other. We see anyone doing something right, we're going to talk about it in our family. And if we can find humor, we're going to laugh. And we get around the piano and sing. We read together at night. We would do small and simple and even enjoyable things. What was at times agonizing, but what could have been seriously worse even was actually punctuated with joy. So I hear your story, and I heard that story, and I think to myself, like, even in my own life, in everyone's life, everything's kind of relative, right? Everybody has their things that they're dealing with, and to have this type of perspective, it's too bad that we have to go through these tragic things or these very huge, issues health-wise, or to kind of come up with that. Why can't you just simulate that and learn from other people?
Well, here's the thing: you don't have to go through a nightmare yourself to have perspective. I told you I was born a joy addict, and I'm so fortunate. That's the type of person I am. It's got to be a lot more difficult to not have a sunny disposition. I realize what a gift that is. However, I also had a side of me that, I was trained to complain about certain things. And I had the complete conversion, I should say. I was at the grocery store about 15 years ago, and I was in one of those 10 items or less checkout lanes. And the woman in front of me was about 9 million years old, and she had about 40,000 items on the thing, and she was writing a check. And so I was trying to get out of there quickly, and there was no chance of that happening. And I would have never said anything to this woman, but in my head, I was thinking, God dang it, Yeah. And then I looked over, and the lane next to me was this beautiful little Snow White costume. And I look up, and the little girl wearing it was bald. And then I thought, oh my gosh, what that child must be going through, and what her parents must be going through. And so it was that point where I deliberately chose for myself, if it's not cancer, I'm not complaining about it. I mean, I'm getting over it. And so I'm probably one of those really annoying people to my friends, because they'll think something is a crisis, and I go, it's no big deal. We'll figure it out, and if not, we'll move on without it. There's all of these things in life that just are no big deal. Yet we see on social media every day, there's someone desperately looking for the wrong type of attention. They're desperately looking for pity. They're, oh, pray for me, I sprained my ankle. And I'm thinking, really? You sprained your ankle? That's the worst thing that happened to you? And you're putting it out for everybody in the world to know. And now you're eating up all the prayers. Maybe they should be praying for the little kid who just had a horrible car accident. I've had tons of minor injuries. Oh, well, so be it. Our bodies are magical things that are really good at healing themselves. Our doctors are genius. And so a sprained ankle is not something I need to notify the public about. Even I look at a house fire, as tragic as that is, I would say, well, did the people get out? Yeah. Okay. Well, it's just stuff, so we can make our choices every single day to either be happy and grateful or be miserable. And I choose to be happy and grateful.
I just think that like, if cancer is not going to test that, what else, right?
Well, all of a sudden there it was. I used to say it's not cancer, and then it was cancer. But again, perspective, once it's a habit, once it's something that you have ingrained in your body, you start looking for the bright side. And for me, I wasn't a kid with cancer. It wasn't my kid with cancer. It wasn't one of the uncurable types. And so I chose to just do the best that I could. And again, I was a real person. This book is full of tears, and it's full of real hard, gory experiences that were painful and scary. And I don't dismiss any of it. I can't even believe I went through all that, but I'm very proud of the way that I handled it. And, what's come of it now, where I don't actually think I'm any sort of superstar. I do believe I have a great attitude and that I can feel good about, but the running world has embraced this book because the running world knows me. They saw me go through it. I never told anybody about the hardships while they were happening.
Yeah.
I said, I have cancer. I'm going to get through it. And then they would see pictures of me smiling on a stage. And I never told them about the difficult parts as they were happening. But so now that I kind of revealed everything, those runners are saying, hey, we want to find out what really happened. But it's now, my book's being dubbed the Breast Cancer Bible and the handbook for thriving while surviving. And so many cancer patients and survivors and caregivers are coming out of the woodwork to say, this book is helping me. I just was diagnosed and I feel so much better and I know I can do this. Or there's survivors that are pumping their fists saying, oh my gosh, thank you. I went through the same weird stuff and it's impossible to convince people about what really goes on unless they read your book. So, it's continuing my life's work of helping people live better and longer. And what a great opportunity.
If I can pick your brain a little bit about that, I have a similar situation. I don't really want to, I don't have permission to talk about it really, but I can just say that like I've been dealing with cancer in the family. And so my question is, like, we first noticed instantly, like what you also have said in this other interview, I was watching you talk about that you have to take care of yourself. You have to be like, the doctor's not going to come home and follow you.
Oh, as a patient. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the doctor's not going to come home with you and make, and it's not, they're not going to chase you.
At night.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like there is this expectation and there's a certain level of like wanting to, gosh, when you're diagnosed with cancer, you must, this is it. This is it. The Green Reaper is coming, 50-50, 60-40. You don't know. The word terminal can come out of the mouth of the doctor sitting across from you. And you're probably just preparing yourself from that from day one, right? Mm-hmm. And then comes the, okay, so if it's not terminal, okay, so there's a chance. That was kind of like the feeling. And now it's like, okay, now we're doing everything that we can do. So what are we doing? Are we doing alternative medicine? My wife's a pharmacist, so we're looking into, vitamin C infusions. Doctors saying don't do the vitamin C infusion; it makes it worse. Eating super healthy. People saying, well, then you're watching a family member, or like not even a family member. I think it was like a friend of the family that had totally lived unhealthy, but the cancer and the chemo, his reaction to it was like nothing. But like to this healthy person, the chemo reaction is just the worst. Like you were saying, you were having IVs constantly.
Every day. Yeah, IV fluid infusions. Yeah, it's interesting. On that particular note, I know that my health going in allowed me to avoid a lot of things less healthy people experience. So my doctor, for example, it was my 6th mean chemo, and I felt I was in bad shape. Of course I had also traveled every weekend amongst this toxic concoction. I was so violently ill. And he kept saying, Fitz, you've done so great. I was like, how could you say that? I was, again, gray, no lashes. I was shaking. I was so sick. And he said, if you weren't so healthy coming into this, you not only wouldn't have been able to travel around the world, you would have been hospitalized for a month. Your response to this is pretty extreme. If you weren't so healthy at the forefront, you would have been in a hospital, and you would have probably had a feeding tube, and feeding tube lead to infection. So yeah, I mean, the health mattered, but I do think that my health also made me quite sensitive to the drugs, because I have some friends that are also having similar drugs for breast cancer specifically, and they're out running like 6 miles a day. They're doing all these great things, and I think, I don't know why I was so sick. But yeah, everybody reacts differently. Every cancer case is like a snowflake or a thumbprint. It's all very unique. The way we respond to the treatment's very unique. But you know, as you were saying, it's terrifying. I certainly thought for certain I was dying until the doctors convinced me otherwise. And the great news is that most cancers are curable. Not every type of cancer, but most cancers, as a whole, most people will be cured. And science is extraordinary. So you do have to keep looking, and there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of new information that keeps coming. So staying on the hunt and working with your team of medical practitioners and looking elsewhere seems like a really good idea.
How was it for you? Like, so you got past it all. You were good. Well, you're not good, right? I mean, your body's completely, it's basically like the right before death. You're knocking on death's doorstep or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm good now. Now it's like time to build it back up. Where do you start there? I mean, mentally you're good to go. I get that. But physically, your body's telling you like you got nothing. You're running on fumes, right?
Right. And so that's actually one of the great gifts of knowing what I know as a fitness expert. I was uniquely qualified to get myself through this nightmare. You know, when I first got diagnosed, I thought, I'm going to, pump it up on my workout. So by the time I start chemo, I'll be stronger than ever. And then I exercised during the first month of chemo, a little bit here and there. And on all of a sudden, boom, 3-4 months, I was wiped out. So sick. I could not even really walk around the block. I just was so sick. Yeah. And then when I stopped the mean chemo and transitioned to the lesser chemo, I started to come around. You know, it's interesting. Once the horrible toxic stuff gets out of your system, you perk up a little bit. You know, you can feel the difference. You go, oh, okay,
you can feel it. Yeah.
Not bad today.
Yeah.
And so I started very gradually. I was so gentle on myself, and I finished the meanest chemo in July. So here in Florida, very warm. So I decided I would get in the pool, which is a really gentle place to exercise. And I would just get in there, and I would wiggle around, and I would stretch. That was it. So I just kind of had conversations with my neighbors, and I would touch my toes or whatever. It was basic. And I did that for a few days. And then as I felt better, I started walking and just moving around in the water a little more. And, you know, it was a progression like that, just baby steps. A few weeks later, I started taking walks with my dog. It's funny. I live on a hill. They call my hill Killer Hill. It's got a 10% incline, which may not sound like a lot, but it's really steep. And so I took my beautiful, loyal best friend dog for a walk, which I hadn't done in 4 or 5 months. And we get to the bottom of the hill, and then I can't get up the hill. I'm down there. I'm like, oh, I just can't do it. I was too weak and unfit. So I had to call home and say, can you come and pick me up? And so we got to ride up the hill. And then after that, my husband would come with me, and he would put his hands on my back and push. He would give me a little help as I walked up the hill. So, you know, I took the most gentle forms of exercise, being in a pool and walking, and made those my first go-to choices. I soon went into the actual gym, which I was so happy to get back into a gym, kind of like a fish being dumped out in the water or back into the water. Yeah. Just felt refreshing to be in. And I sat down on some piece of equipment, and I was lifting maybe a third of what I used to lift. I was very, very weak. And then I had that moment where many people in the gym have is, oh, I'm so weak. Someone's looking at me. And then I thought, well, people might be looking at my bald head, but nobody in here at all knew what I used to lift, and nobody knows what I'm lifting now. So who cares what they think? I'm just going to lift a weight that feels good, that's going to do no harm. And I'm going to be so proud of me that I am making my comeback, that I am making progress. And so, you know, every step I took towards being fitter and stronger, I celebrated. I took each step with great pride, knowing what I had gone through, knowing where I've been. I lost 13 pounds, and I'm a lean girl to begin with. I went from about 124 to 111. I was pretty scrawny. It wasn't healthy. It was even my mom said, "You look like you're in the Holocaust." And I thought, well, yeah, and thanks. That's not helpful at all. You know, I'm doing my best, and I'm very proud. I put back, I think, about 8 pounds back on. And you know, you got to just keep moving forward. You can never take you can never just sit back and do nothing. You know, while you're super sick, it's okay to rest. But then when you can do better, you should do better. And I've done obstacle course races. I've done a triathlon. I've done some 5Ks. I'm still not the fittest girl that I was before cancer, but I'm pretty fit. I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah.
It's a hard haul, but it's worth it, the effort.
Yeah, I'm just amazed at that this positive internal dialogue that you have with yourself. Even like just saying like this one step here. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know.
You could, and sometimes it takes for the moment where you have no choice to figure out what you're made of. And you know, it's great to be this fabulous person where everything's going right and you're making money and work is great and people love you. And then it's a completely different beast to be that incredible person when things have really hit the fan. So whether it's with your health or the economy or your house burns down, it's who are you in the time of crisis? And I know who I am, and I'm really proud of that girl. And fortunately, I look around me and those other people that I respect and admire, they know how to dig their way out of a ugly situation too. So I have no doubt, Remington, that you would do nothing short of at least what I did. You'd probably trump me and do even way better.
You identify with yourself like all physically very much, you know. And I've thought about it, and you really, until you're faced with that situation, it's just unimaginable. And yeah, like I said, it's just amazing to hear your complete your self-actualization in that sense, and it's just so, it must be, I'm sure you hear it from a lot of other people that have read your book or that have you know, dealing with this kind of stuff. That's the best thing to hear, to see someone else that's basically said fuck cancer, right? Like that's my favorite thing, just fuck cancer.
Well, yeah. And it's so neat for me, especially via social media. I have access to so many people that I don't have locally. And I have these men and women who have read my book, and they're out doing stuff that they didn't think cancer patients could or should do. And they're living these great lives, and they take these beautiful selfie out hiking in the woods and canoeing, and they're living a quality of life. And you know what? Sometimes we let days go, right? And nothing makes the days more important or your health more important than someone looking you in the eye and saying, hey, you have a potentially lethal disease, whether it's cancer or something else. And all of a sudden you go, whoa, I have stuff to do, right? Like I gotta live. And so I'm grateful that the book has inspired people to, I don't know, just go for it a little more. And you know, at one point when I was super sick, it was after my last dose of the very mean chemo, and I was obliterated, and things were bad. And I just got done announcing a race, and I spent the night on a floor, and I woke up a mess. I mean, the whole thing was just very defeating, morally. And
yeah, you said, I heard that you talked about like a chocolate donut, like it was like,
right.
Yeah,
that's right. I'll tell that little story here. It's in the book, but I had just spent the weekend in Denver, Colorado, announcing a race, and I just lost my eyelashes, and I was so sick, and I was weak, and I had probably pushed the limits of what I should do, but that's what I do. So whatever. So I fly to Orlando. I didn't come straight home to Gainesville, Florida, because my daughter was having a cheerleading competition. I wanted to see her. And so we went to a friend's house who lived in the area, picked me up from the airport, brought me to his house, and they made dinner, and they had asked what I could eat. And we said something bland like chicken or soup. I could have just done with a can of soup, but they made very spicy chicken and some spicy potatoes or something. And so I might've had a bite, and I thought, I just can't do this. And I was so tired, and I just felt so bad. So I said, excuse me, if you don't mind, I'm going to go to bed. So I left the dinner table, and my husband stayed with them and visited. And for some reason, I don't know why, when you feel bad, it helps to sleep on the floor. Right, yeah. Almost like when you have a hangover. So I was on the floor, miserable. And at about 2:00 in the morning, my stomach was saying, you have to get food, dummy. You need to eat. And so I creep into their cabinets in the kitchen, and they were on a health kick, and all they had were vegetables. There was literally nothing there but vegetables. And all I really needed was a cracker. I just needed something bland. Yeah. And I digging through the cabinets, finally came across one little tiny donut, a chocolate donut. And I thought, oh, okay, here it is. I'm going to eat the donut. So I take the donut and I creep back into the guest room. I get back on the floor and I take one bite of the donut, and apparently I fell asleep. And then I woke up and I had chocolate donuts smeared all over my bald head. It was on my arms. I had apparently slept, rolled through this donut, and I got into the bathroom and I just looked at myself and I just thought, what has happened to you? I mean, it just was awful. And not only the way I felt, but the way I looked, it was very defeating all around. So then I go to my daughter's cheerleading competition. And again, if I had said, I'm too sick, I can't go, nobody would have blamed me, right. But I would have blamed me. I didn't want to miss out on her wonderful little life. And I was sitting in that arena thinking to myself, if I were terminal right now, if I were someone with death sentence, they said, yeah, Fitz, you're not going to survive this, I would want to be here. And no matter how bad I felt, I was so happy to be there watching my little girl perform and all these other wonderful kids perform. And then I thought, that has got to be a priority for people to know, that if you have, it's your uncle, he's dying of X cancer, or your aunt or your sister or whatever, let them live. Because so many people are like, no, you're sick, stay home. What the hell is the point of that? If you're going to die anyways, let's make those days great. I mean, I look at this COVID insanity where they're taking sick people and saying, where we're taking terminal patients and saying, you can't go to the beach because you have terminal cancer. No, I have terminal cancer. Get them to the beach, get them out to see a show, get them out to do anything. We've got people dying in the hospital with cancer. We can't go visit them. No, everybody they know should be wrapped around them, loving them, because who cares if they get COVID, right? Because they're going to die. They might as well die in the loving arms of the people they cherish most. And maybe not everybody feels that way. Maybe you'd rather have 4 extra days isolated alone in the hospital. But for me, my passions are my people. And I wouldn't have wanted to, if I had gone the other route, if I would have been dying during COVID, man, that would have pissed me off if somebody would have said I couldn't be with my family, my loved ones, because I was dying. I mean, the whole thing is crazy. So sorry, that was a tangent.
No, I totally go with that. I feel you. I'm on your level there. Like that's what it makes us more susceptible to COVID somehow. Like if it's a virus, I get it. It's bad deal. Whatever. We don't need to get into the conspiracy theories, or if there is one or there isn't one. But our immune system is supported through this family, this community, like our being around other humans and having this interaction and socially interacting keeps us fit mentally, and I would say our immune system is totally connected to that.
So let's go there, because I'm not sure how things are going in Germany, right? But in the United States, we got this Dr. Fauci, who's turned out to be quite the nutcase. This guy is all over the place. He's right. He's day is night. Everything, or what he says one day contradicts his very own words the next day. Now, yes, there is a virus. I believe there's a virus. I also believe in the flu. I get my flu shot. I've got nothing wrong with people saying there's a virus making people sick. However, And I am an actual highly credentialed health and fitness expert. Not once has any of the American medical authorities on television said every American needs to get outside and exercise because that builds a strong immune system. Every American needs to go to the produce stand and get fruits and vegetables of 5 different colors and have some every day because that builds a strong immune system. Every American needs to get fresh air. Every American needs to sleep. These are things that build a strong immune system and make you resistant to disease and viruses and other horrible things. So if they're really concerned about their health, why the hell are they shutting down health clubs and fitness centers? Why are they shutting down the beach? Why are they shutting down parks? They're absolutely not even trying to build a healthy society. I think they're making so much freaking money off of sick care that they don't care about healthcare. I'm in the business of healthcare, making people healthy. They're in the business of keeping people sick, people keeping scared, keeping people at home. Their actions have nothing to do with building a strong, vibrant, healthy society. The end.
Yeah, I just say cheers to that. That's the same conversation I have with my wife. My wife's also in the health in the health industry. Eric, isn't that what you've been hearing the last year from me and my wife? That exactly what she just said? Can we confirm that on our side?
Confirmative.
Yeah. No, it just is. It's all the things that, like vitamin C, supplements, all that, eating healthy, fresh air, sleep. No one's talking about that. No, just wait for the vaccine and then go back to McDonald's.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about that. And so I'm sure there's someone out there who hates my guts. They're like, she's not taking COVID seriously because she thinks we should be at the gym. Well, hell yes, I believe you should be at the gym. In fact, I've made an extraordinary career out of getting people to live better, live longer because of exercise, because of nutrition. And, if that conflicts with your urge to stay home and hide underneath the covers, then so be it. I hope you come around. But it's the people that are hiding at home that in my social circles are the ones who are getting sick and the ones that are being hospitalized. Those of us that are out living large, taking care of our bodies, we're doing just fine.
Florida's a place to be too, huh? In general, right? Texas and Florida is what I've heard from Franzi. My wife would say, she's like, so, because it's just here in Germany, we don't have, like, it's all the same. It's all just bad. It's all California. Like, Germany is just one big California, right? And at least not as many people, but besides that. And I was like, well, Texas or Florida is what I told her. Where do you want to go? You know?
Well, you know what? Florida, it's funny. Floridians rarely even go to Hawaii. Now, mind you, I'd love to be at Hawaii, but I live in Florida. So I was like, well, why am I going to spend $5,000 to go to Hawaii when I've got, 20 of the most beautiful beaches in our country or in the world right here in our state. So we have so many wonderful resources, natural and otherwise, theme parks and so forth. But then our governor, he gets what America's all about. And I know worldwide Americans, some people like to trash us and they like to pick on us, but, freedom is a real thing. It's a real priority. And I'm one of those red-blooded Americans who thinks freedom is number one, period, end of story. Here's freedom. And then here's everything else. And everything else includes family and everything else includes work and stuff. It's freedom. And it's our commitment to freedom that has not only made this country pretty wonderful. We're having weird times right now, but it's also liberated so many people around the world. And so we're definitely having some strife here politically. But our governor, this is where I'm going with that. The governor of Florida, he gets it. He truly has a passion and an understanding for the American Constitution and what freedom means. And he is sticking up for the freedom of Floridians, and people from all over the United States are fleeing their socialist states to come to our state because our kids can go to school. And if you want to go to work or you want to own a business, you can do those things. I never thought in America any American would be restrained from going to school or owning a business or even going to get a sandwich. But this year has shown that we need to do some work and get back to who we were in the 40s with the greatest generation. And I think when America is free and strong, the rest of the world has a better chance of remaining free and strong.
Yeah, I mean, normally I refrain from talking about this, but I honestly, like, it's nice when I can find somebody that has the same opinion, because you do come across sometimes, you come across this other thing, and it's almost like I'm forced to just be like, okay, I get it, because it's almost like I don't even want to go down that road of disagreeing with somebody about something where, we're maybe in 10 years we might be able to look back and know what was going on, maybe also not, but it seems like we're still in the thick of something that's not even understanded yet, really, completely.
No, so. And I look around this country and I'm shocked. I'm appalled. Again, we look at those soldiers that died on the shore of Normandy for freedom and the shores of so many other places, and then Americans just yellow belly, just rolled over them like, okay, take away my jobs, take away my school. Like they just gave up. And I don't know. It's terrifying because, again, the American Constitution means a lot to me, but I do believe it means a lot to many people elsewhere. And these are just really weird times. And I think even though the loudest people are the ones that are the ugliest, the rest of us get along. I mean, there's nobody here in my town being like, you're this color, so I hate you, or you're that color. I mean, we don't care. And then for me, fitness is not political. I want everybody to exercise and eat healthy. I want the patriots, the American patriots. I want the socialists. I want the communists. I want everybody to exercise and eat right. So, there's all these unifying factors, even if we disagree, and we should be able to have civil disagreement, right?
Yeah, like that's something that I've noticed too. It's like you can't, now the topics are so hot that you can't even discuss them. It's like, wait a minute, I thought we're supposed to be able to talk about all this kind of stuff, because if we can't have an open dialogue about it, we can't, if I'm too afraid to share my true opinion, then we're going down the wrong. Then we really are losing these values that created this unique democracy.
Absolutely, it's again, it's weird, super weird. But I'm hopeful that the ship will set itself straight soon.
Yeah, me too. For my poor mom. My mom's just hanging out there in California, just watching her grandkids grow on FaceTime, and she just, it's hard she has to choke back tears every time, because she just sees how big we have a little 3-year-old. So from like 2 years to 3, obviously that's just a huge exponential thing. And she's just like, God, I mean, that's out of all the stories, that's actually still doable. There's a lot more horror stories out there, but.
Yep. There are. Yeah, I'm dying to get back to Europe right now. Hurry up.
Yeah.
When are we allowed in? Can an American come to Germany now?
No, not yet. I'll let you know. I'll be one of the first to know, because my mom and we're just waiting for the to open up so they can just fly over. But we planned vacation, but it's like you plan everything with like this this thing in the back of your head that 50-50, right?
Well, I think you're all free. You're all welcome to come to Florida. So maybe meet here.
Yeah, we did that about 10 years ago. We all met in Florida. That's actually probably not a bad idea. Now you say that.
I'm gonna come visit you. Be like, Remington and crew. You'll teach me how to say your last name.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, Fitz, thank you very, very much for your time. That's a good way to end this conversation, I feel like. I'll check out your book. Maybe I can throw it down to my family member. That I'm sure it's not just for breast cancer, right? Cancer on itself is all.
The themes within this book are universal to all types of cancer. So mine happened to reference my boob and needles in my areola, which was a good time. But you're probably getting if you got cancer of prostate, you're getting needles in lots of weird places. And
oh, so interesting the way that you said that, like that you can pick on like when like a colored person can pick on colored person, and whatever area. So you're able to pick on the cancer patients because you've been through the gauntlet yourself.
Yeah, I have the cancer street cred, so I can mock us and our experience. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Coming from you, at least it's authentic, right? Like everything that I say is just like he doesn't know anyway, right? So.
Well, I think we all have our little, it's okay. Hopefully you'll never know, right? Nobody wants to be part of this club, but once you are part of this club, there's some sad, scary, horrible stuff. That's real. And then there's some hilarious stuff. And I like making people laugh, especially while they're learning.
Right on. Right. Like you want to hang around after we go offline so we can say goodbye. Sometimes I forget to say that, and then we say goodbye, and then it's like,
Absolutely. And can I tell people that even though I'm an American author and publisher, books available worldwide, Amazon definitely, Barnes and Noble, I just said. And if you get the book, it's paperback, hardcover, ebook, and audiobook. So you can just listen to me blah, blah, blah for 10 hours. But I would love some more European reviews on Amazon. So any feedback you guys have, I'd love to hear it. And I appreciate anyone who invests.
That's cool. So you have it also as audio version out, and you read it yourself?
I did. I narrated it. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done professionally. It wasn't bad. It was just challenging.
Respect. Yeah.
And I feel really good about it.
Right on. Cool. All right. Well, then we'll put all the links in the show notes for sure, obviously, and we'll share it. Thank you very much for your time.
It's really been a great conversation.
Thank you. It's nice.